My name is Tena, and I am 33 years old. I work as a nurse in a busy hospital where my job is to care for the sick and help them recover. Being a nurse is not just a profession to me, it is a calling. Every day I dedicate myself to the well-being of my patients, whether during the day or the long, quiet hours of the night shift. While my career fills me with purpose, my personal life has always been more subdued. Until recently, I lived a rather solitary life. I had no boyfriend and limited social interactions. My life revolved mostly around work, and when I wasn't at the hospital, I would often visit my mother, who lives in a small village. She's getting older, and I cherish the time I spend with her, helping out as much as I can. My life was simple and quiet, and though I wasn't unhappy, I often felt like something was missing. Little did I know, everything was about to change. One day, a new doctor joined our hospital. His name was Jack. He was 2 years younger than me, just 31 years old, but his presence was undeniable. Tall, with striking brown hair and deep blue eyes, Jack was not only handsome, but had a warmth that made him instantly approachable. He had an infectious smile, and it seemed to light up the whole room every time he walked in. At first, I didn't think much of it. I mean, why would someone like Jack notice me? I wasn't thin or glamorous, and I wasn't someone who could turn heads. In a room full of beautiful people, I wore simple clothes and kept my hair neat but unremarkable. But to my surprise, Jack began speaking to me more frequently. He would ask how my day had been, inquire about my well-being, and smile at me each time our paths crossed. This small, kind gesture puzzled me. Why was someone like him paying attention to someone like me? Soon, Jack's gestures became more frequent. One day, after a particularly long shift, he asked if I needed a ride home. I hesitated for a moment, not sure if it was a good idea, but eventually agreed. Jack drove me in a sleek black car, and during the drive, we talked. We spoke about everything: our work, our families, and even our dreams for the future. For the first time in a long while, I felt heard, truly heard. From that day forward, Jack began offering me rides home regularly. Sometimes, he'd even bring me coffee or tea, and we'd sit together in the hospital cafeteria, chatting over lunch. Slowly but surely, I found myself looking forward to these moments. My heart began to flutter every time I saw him. Then, one weekend, Jack invited me to the movies. It felt like a dream come true. After the movie, we took a walk through the park, laughing and talking for hours. I couldn't remember the last time I had felt so happy and alive. I allowed myself to think, just for a moment, that maybe Jack felt the same way about me. But just as quickly as my hopes were rising, reality hit me hard. A few days later, Jack told me something that shook me to my core. He said, "Tena, I need to tell you something important." His face was serious, his tone softer than usual. "I'm married." I was in complete shock. How could he be married? He had never once mentioned his wife, and he never wore a wedding ring. I had assumed he was single, Jack explained that he had been married to a woman named Laura for 5 years, but their relationship was no longer fulfilling. He said they had grown apart, they didn't share the same interests, and they didn't spend much time together. Jack told me that he enjoyed being with me because I made him feel comfortable. With me, he could be himself. He said I made him feel alive and happy. His words were flattering, but they left me with an overwhelming sense of confusion. Why was he spending so much time with me if he had a wife? Wasn't Laura enough for him? One fateful afternoon, I was grocery shopping at a local supermarket when I heard a familiar voice. It was Jack, and he was talking to someone. I turned a corner and saw him with a woman, Laura. She was everything I imagined her to be: tall, elegant, and stunningly beautiful. She wore an expensive coat and smiled brightly as she laughed with Jack. They looked so happy together, and seeing them made my heart sink. I quietly stepped away, not wanting to be seen. I rushed out of the store, my mind a whirlwind of questions and doubts. Why was Jack spending time with me if he already had someone like Laura? Was I just a distraction for him? I felt torn. On one hand, I cared about Jack deeply, but on the other, I did not want to be the cause of any harm to his marriage. The confusion weighed heavily on me. I had never imagined being in such a complicated situation. I spoke with my best friend Sarah, who always offered honest and wise advice. She listened patiently as I explained everything to her. "Tena," she said, "you deserve someone who can be fully with you, someone who isn't torn between you and another person. Don't settle for being the other woman." Her words resonated deeply with me. I knew she was right. I needed to make the right choice, not just for Jack, but for myself. A week later, Jack called me. He wanted to meet and talk. My heart raced as I prepared myself for what was to come. We met at a park, and I took a deep breath before speaking. "Jack, I care about you," I said, "but I cannot continue in this situation. You need to decide what you truly want. If you are not happy with Laura, you need to talk to her, but I cannot be the other woman." Jack looked sad, but he nodded. "I care about you, Tena. I will think about everything. I just want you to be happy." As I walked away from him that day, a sense of strength washed over me. I knew I had made the right decision. It wasn't easy, but sometimes doing the right thing requires strength and self-respect. Life is full of hard decisions, and often the right choice isn't the easiest, but it is important to choose what is best for ourselves. I am learning to prioritize my happiness and my future, knowing that I deserve a love that is whole and unbroken. If you found this story meaningful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit from hearing it.